Hey, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be going into everything there is to know about the Doom of Valyria. But before we begin, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, anyone who becomes a join member of any level will have a thank you banner at the beginning and a shout out at the end of every video. Thank you, let's begin. The Doom of Valyria was a catastrophic event that took place nearly 400 years before the War of the Five Kings. It destroyed the city of Old Valyria and devastated most of the surrounding Valyrian peninsula. The destruction of its capital city in a single day caused the fall of the entire Valyrian freehold, which for thousands of years had ruled most of Westeros. To quote Viserys Targaryen, an event that came to be known only as the Doom laid waste to the Valyrians, their capital city, and its surrounding lands. The peninsula itself was shattered, becoming what is now the Smoking Sea. Every dragon was thought to be lost, as were the Valyrian spells, knowledge, and recorded history. Thus, the mighty empire collapsed. To quote Tyrion Lannister and Jorah Mormont, "They held each other close and turned their backs upon the end. The hills that split asunder and the black that ate the skies, the flames that shot so high and hot that even dragons burned, would never be the final sights that fell upon their eyes. A fly upon a wall, the waves the sea wind whipped and churned, the city of 1,000 years, and all that men had learned. The Doom consumed it all alike, and neither of them turned." For nearly 5,000 years, the Valyrian freehold had remained the dominant power in the continent of Westeros thanks to their dragons, mighty beasts that were keys to their power. At its height, the Valyrian freehold ruled most of Westeros, from Pentos to Meereen, constituting about half of the known world. However, one fateful day 400 years ago, a cataclysm, which became known in later years simply as the Doom, laid waste to the Valyrian capital, its people, and the surrounding lands. The string of volcanoes near Valyria, known as the 14 Flames, exploded in a massive eruption, consuming the city of Valyria in ash and flame, and the entire region was racked by corresponding earthquakes. The Valyrian peninsula itself was shattered and the ocean came sweeping in, becoming the area now known as the Smoking Sea, which no sailor dares cross, and which is believed to be haunted by demons. The exact cause of the Doom remains unknown. Some believe the volcanic eruption was a natural disaster, while others believe it was inadvertently triggered by the Valyrians' own sorcery. Whatever the cause, Valyria was destroyed, and all of their dragons were lost with it, along with Valyrian recorded history, spells, and knowledge. With its center of power destroyed, the freehold collapsed. Of the mighty families of dragon lords who ruled the freehold, only one survived, House Targaryen, which had re-established itself on Dragonstone, in Westeros years before the Doom. Most importantly, the Targaryens on Dragonstone possessed the only Valyrian dragons that survived the Doom, the only remaining dragons in the known world. With the heartland of the freehold destroyed, its surviving colonies to the west and east reasserted their independence, politically fracturing the continent and initiating a series of savage wars for dominance known as the Century of Blood, during which Volantis attempted to reform the Valyrian Empire under their rule. Several of these colonies formed into the free cities in the west and the cities of Slaver's Bay in the east. Without the Valyrians and their dragons to keep them in check, the Dothraki mounted hordes swept across the continent from the central plains of the Dothraki Sea, plundering and carving out new domains from surrounding areas. From the Dothraki point of view, the Doom started their own golden age of conquest and expansion. In the far northwest of Essos, the hidden city of Braavos, founded by the escaped slaves who fled Valyria, now revealed itself to the world. While the other Valyrian colonies were left in chaos, Braavos was an island of stability because it had no political or economic ties with the freehold, and quickly rose to become the most powerful of the free cities. Valyria had remained a smoking ruin in 4 centuries since the Doom. Even attempts to pass through it, much less resettle it, end in disaster, to the point that even pirates are too afraid to sail through the Smoking Sea. Ships rounding the Valyrian peninsula make sure to stay a long distance away from the mainland, due to the belief that demons and other dangers still haunt the region. The free cities exile some victims of advanced grayscale disease called stonemen in the Valyrian peninsula, and a few manage to survive in the shadows of the ruins. In the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, The Doom of Valyria was an event which dramatically changed the course of world history. Massive tidal waves caused by the eruptions and earthquakes resulted in giant tsunamis which struck many faraway coasts. The three major cities of Slaver's Bay were shielded from the tsunamis by the Isle of Cedars, a large island between the bay and Valyria. However, cities on the Isle of Cedars were swept away by the waves, and the island had been uninhabited ever since. The Doom of Valyria occurred in exactly the year 114 BC, 112 years before the Targaryen conquest of Westeros began in 2 BC. 12 years before the Doom, in 126 BC, Aenar Targaryen relocated his entire household to Dragonstone, a small volcanic island off the east coast of Westeros. The Targaryens were one of the 40 major families of dragon lords in the Valyrian freehold, though they were not one of the more powerful ones. Aenar was encouraged to flee Valyria by the prophetic dreams of his daughter, which warned of the coming disaster. Along with them, the Targaryens took 5 dragons, who became the only dragons to survive the Doom. Balerion was one of these, but the other 4 later died through unrevealed circumstances. They did leave eggs behind, however, and from these hatched Vhagar and Meraxes. In Game of Thrones Season 2 in Qarth, Jorah Mormont meets with Quaithe as she paints a sailor preparing to sail the Smoking Sea past Old Valyria. She explains that the tattoo is a protective ward against the Doom, which still rules in Valyria. In Game of Thrones Season 4, to quote Jaime Lannister, "No one's made a new Valyrian steel sword since the Doom of Valyria." Upon receiving a fresh forged Valyrian steel sword from his father, Jaime remarks that a new Valyrian steel weapon hasn't been produced since the Doom of Valyria. Tywin explains that the sword Oathkeeper, along with its sister sword, was actually reforged from a pre-existing Valyrian steel sword, Ice. In Game of Thrones Season 5, to quote Tyrion Lannister, "You know what they say, the Doom still rules Valyria. How many centuries before we learn how to build cities like this again?" While sailing from Volantis to Meereen in his captivity, Tyrion and Jorah go through the overgrown ruins of Old Valyria, partially flooded by the waters of the Smoking Sea, to avoid pirates and slavers. They recite a poem about the Doom and observe Drogon flying overhead, when their boat is suddenly attacked by stone men. So what did you guys think of the Doom of Valyria? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Just a reminder, anyone who becomes a join member of any kind will get a shout out at the end of every video and a thank you banner at the beginning. Otherwise, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.